32nd verse, the Lord said, I am the all-devouring time. Time is that which relentlessly consumes everything. Even without you, referring to Arjuna, all these warriors arrayed in the opposing armies shall not live. We read this to be interpreted as it's not to be understood that everything is predetermined. Nothing in life is predetermined. So if one has to approach life with the understanding that nothing is predetermined, it truly makes an individual a master. He doesn't surrender blindly to unknown factors or surrender to areas of ignorance. It is not suggested. Vedanta doesn't tell us to dwell into areas of ignorance. And also to surrender to those areas of ignorance suggests the weakness, the weak mindset of people. They don't rather believe in their abilities, but surrender to extra factors, extraterrestrial factors to mold their future, to mold their destiny in their favor. Such are the people who don't understand how the law of life is governed. As you and I, if you understand that the law of life is governed by the law of causation, the law of cause and effect, nothing can take away from the cause and effect. Everything in life is governed by cause and effect. And there's nothing beyond this cause and effect. If you surrender to the cause and effect, as we said, we would enter into the realm of lack of logic and reason, where you enter the realm of superstition or blind beliefs. So being logical, being rational, being Vedantic strongly advises us to believe in your own ability to perform, and it is your own action and karma phala. There's nothing, in fact, if what Vedanta says is you will have to accept that everything is cause and effect. Cause is action, the effect is fruits of action. And nothing other than yourself is responsible for your creation. Nothing other than your own action is responsible for your future. Just because you don't understand what is the cause of what I could have done to deserve it, those are the moments people resort to external factors, people resort to the soothsayers and the palmists and the stars and astrology and whatnot, because they are not able to digest that they have done something to deserve it. The whole thing pivots around that statement, that when you don't understand and accept that it is my own making, when I don't accept that I have done something to deserve it, what have I done to deserve it? When there is lack of clarity in those areas, you blindly surrender, which is not true surrender. You blindly seek help. But that is not what Vedanta says. Just because you don't know what you have done to deserve it doesn't mean you don't deserve it. So if we blindly surrender, in fact, in areas, certain times when you can't exercise your intellect, it is recommended you surrender. Surrender where? In right areas. Beyond a point when you can't think, you follow what the text says or the right guru says. You just follow blindly. Not recommended, but when you can't, follow it. So we are told, if you were to surrender to the fact that everything is law of karma, you wouldn't go wrong. Just swallow that bitter pill that I have to exhaust my own fruits of my own past actions. So many actions we are performing where we are not conscious of the seeds that we sow. And every thought is an action. Every sankalpa, if you take every sankalpa also is an action. In a day, how many thoughts are you entertaining, Gayatri? Are you conscious?
No, Guruji, no. Many of the thoughts we are not conscious at all.
You're not conscious. Are you mindful how many thoughts are constructive, how many thoughts are destructive?
Even that also we are not.
And if sankalpa is a seed, if sankalpa is an action, then who is to face the consequences of those karmas?
Our own thoughts, which will face it.
Our own thoughts, our own actions. And they say that there's no difference between sankalpa and karma. It's the same thing. If I have a negative sankalpa, is as good as a negative action. And if I'm not mindful, some figures are floating, let them float. I don't know what science is behind it. There may be some science, but you'll have to understand that sankalpa also is a factor which incurs karma. So all those thoughts, all those wild thoughts that keep rambling in our minds, they have to have some repercussion. And how many actions am I conscious of? So when we surrender to that, when the Lord says, even without you, all these warriors arrayed in the opposing armies shall not live, he's only saying these people have perpetrated negative actions. They have taken the side of adharma, and their inevitable end is death. So you don't have to worry, Arjuna. You are fighting a righteous cause. And I can see the end. Now, that doesn't mean we took to clarify that you cannot predict your future, but you can only project your future. Prediction cannot be possible because you have not done the action. How can you predict? So if somebody is trying to predict something, he's saying making a fool of you. So do not fall a prey to such irrational beliefs. The future is based on your action. If somebody has to project your future, he has to take your facts into account. He has to take your data into account to intelligently project. That's all they can do. It's like if somebody is constantly studying the stock market, or what do you call that, the investments that they do, they only intelligently project. If the same trend carries in 6 months time, this is what it could be. Now that can change all the time, isn't it? Because so many factors are influencing that, isn't it? Harish, what are the factors that influence the stock market, Harish?
Guruji, the economy, people's sentiments of the economy affects the stock market. The balance sheets and the profit and loss of the company of big companies that affect the stock market.
Is that all?
Global events,
Global
wars,
events,
calamities.
now so many of those factors, suddenly there is a cyclone, or as you said, a natural disaster, or a war. So many factors can influence. Now, being realistic, sir, on which do you have control?
None of it whatsoever.
I have no control over any of it. And if somebody were to come and tell you that this is what your future is going to be, to fall for that, is it not the most irrational approach to life?
Yes.
Now you tell me, who are the people who will believe in such presumptions or such assumptions?
Those people who do not understand the mechanism that nobody can foresee the future, and they are not strong enough to analyze the logical conclusions of life events, that they cannot control it. So they rely on other people to supposedly guide them and navigate them, thinking they are more expert than they are. So they have no self-belief or confidence that they have no control over it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But tell me, Harish, why is it that everybody is interested in the future? What does it suggest? Why is everybody anxious of the future? What quality are they trying to violate? What quality they're trying to practice here?
I think most people are not happy or secure in the present. So they think by thinking about the future, they want to reach a state where they want to be, but where they are not at the moment. So they're living they feel that there is something they have to plan to get a better future because their present is not very favorable. So they are not happy in the present moment. They're not living in the present moment.
All right. They are not content. They are not secure in the present. That's one way of looking at it. Right. Thanks, Harish. Yes, SR. Why is it people are interested in the future?
Pranam Guruji. In my view, everyone interested to be curious to know about their efforts, the results immediately, instantly. They don't want to wait. Suppose if there is an efforts being put in there, it may take time to get fruitful of the efforts, the outcomes. They want to know instantly the results of the same.
What is that quality? What is that quality? Wanting to know the fruits or results is known as being result oriented, being anxious of the results.
Anxious.
There is an unnecessary anxiety for the fruit of the karma, of the phala.
Exactly.
The weakness in mankind is result oriented. Here we are saying result oriented is a negative quality, because
And
being result oriented, yes, sir.
Not only result oriented, Guruji, the result should be positive oriented, because always we look that all our efforts are going to be 100% fruitful and in our favor, and absolutely in a selfish thoughts in the mind. So nor we mentally prepared to take any negative connotations outcomes of it, because we discount it, thinking that we are right and we are done 100% right in all respect of it.
And everybody else is wrong. Everybody else must fail.
Absolutely. I should win. I should win whatever may be the cost.
My God. When we start analyzing how wrong one can be, we are, isn't it? Sadly.
I could see the children's, Guruji, where they wrote IIT exams and the results. They want to be number one. Absolutely. Scoring across among all other students. They want to be state rank or Indian rank there. Just disowning all others' efforts. Doesn't mind that we are equally, there are people who are putting similar efforts. They are also eligible to become number one, but I want to be number one. So that's
that anger. It's a weakness. It's a weakness to be interested in the future.
And coming to this predicting the future, Guruji, and as well as projecting the future, I think in the current dynamic world where the change is very, very constant, the future projection also becoming a very challenge. Not in a position to, like in organizations, we used to have a 5-year plan. Now it has been brought to 3 years plan. Now it has been brought to 2 years. No, it's in the currently we are standing at the 2 years. What is going to happen to this company for the down the line of next 2 years? But the uncertainty is such a way that I'll just give an example. We were looking for one sort of a fruit, which is sorry to take a little time, but a fruit called orange, which is called Lima fruit, and a special oranges which are being imported from USA. And which was available in the market just like that. You make an order on e-commerce, in the next 48 hours, it will get delivered. Now, last 1 week, we are not able to get, I think one of my colleagues was trying for that. That's where the communication has come to me. The reason behind is not able to get organized the orange is that there is a fight going on the Red Sea. All the ships have been bombarded by the Houthi rebels. So the ships are stopped floating there. So you can imagine where is the orange need for you? Where is the international war which is going through that? It is somehow other way, like it or not, it's been connected. And the majority of our exports, the farmers who have been kept ready for the exports of this financial year, basmati rice, we are the India's largest exporter, not able to, 30% down in the exports of them. All of a sudden, within a 1 week, whole dynamics are being changed. So the projecting the future also become, I think the days comes to me, we have to simply forget about, or we have to be too much dependent on the astrologers because of the uncertainty is becoming in every moment of a time. Not we. What I mean is the people who strongly believe in that. Excuse me on that.
It's so uncertain. Life is so uncertain.
Completely uncertain.
But opposed to that anxiety for the future, what Vedanta says is there is no greater satisfaction than performing your karma, performing a karma according to your dharma, and that duty performed at the right time, at the right place, with the right spirit. There is no greater fruit, there is no greater
Satisfaction.
reward, there's no greater reward than that satisfaction to do your karma as per your dharma at the right time, at the right place, with the right attitude. I tell you, there is nothing greater than that in life. Than trying to acquire the world, trying to master the world, try to create a proprietorship over the world and enjoy the world. And that's what Arjuna is going to be told. He said, you are doing the dharma. You rightly fight a righteous war and enjoy the fruits, which is your kingdom, man. Why are you worried about them? They're anyway going to die because of their own actions. So the message you get here also is that you should not be concerned of everything around you over which you have no control. What you have control is how diligently you can perform your karma, how diligently you can do your sadhana, or whatever your action is. If you limit yourself to that and don't worry about the rest, disregard the rest, I tell you, you can be in a protective zone where nothing comes and disturbs you. Every time people come and talk to me, I only keep telling, let there be no anxiety, ma. It'll happen. It'll happen. Don't worry. Don't worry. That's all I keep telling to wherever anybody there's an anxiety. I tell. I can notice an anxiety. I say, Shanti, Shanti. Oh, US lecture 2 is coming. That needs to be done. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. It's coming when? August. Okay. What we are doing? Okay. We are all working. Let's work towards it. This is not there. That is not there. That has to. It'll happen. Why are you worried? End of the day, if it doesn't happen this year, anything is going to happen. 49 years I have not gone. One more year I will not go. What is going to happen? M. Ramgaru, maybe 50th year will go, sir. Why are you going 1 year before? I think unnecessarily we're going 1 year before. We'll celebrate 50th year there. Correct? Meer వచ్చేయండి సార్ ఇద్దరం సెలబ్రేట్ చేద్దాం అక్కడ
ఇంకో ఇయర్ ఆగితే నా 70th ఇయర్ అవుతుంది సార్
సో ఇట్స్ నైస్ కోఇన్సిడెన్స్ సార్ 50 + 70 ఇద్దరం సెలబ్రేట్ చేద్దాం అక్కడ ఏం యాంగ్జైటీ వాడి చేయాలి ఇది చేయాలి యూనో అండ్ జస్ట్ టు if there's a way we can diffuse while the effort is being put, no effort being put is tamas kada. Mana chese karma chesi, let there be no anxiety.
I mean,
absolutely
we have to plan our own stuff. I mean, just like we are planning your US trip, it has to be planned. But if you are anxious about it, that is wrong. But planning should not be given up, because that is also a well-planned thing is 50% achieved, as we say.
No, absolutely. No. That effort has to be constantly there. But not sleepless nights over it.
Exactly. You should not be anxious about it. I think our problem comes when we become anxious. I was just reading yesterday only about this was in the 30s. There was a single engine aircraft which was, two of them were going from India to UK. And the first person took a lead, but he got stopped in, I think, somewhere in Turkey or Egypt, because his spark plugs failed and he didn't have spare spark plugs. The second person who was coming, and they were competing with each other. Second person who came had spare spark plugs and gave it to him, saying that please use them. So that chap took the spark plugs and went and finished first. So the person who gave the spark plugs came second. Okay, but knowing that he will come first if he gives him the spark plugs, still he gave him the spark plugs. That is J.R.D. Tata. So, I mean, you have to also understand that in a competitive world where we all operate, like Srinivas Reddy sir is also saying, that winning is not everything. Participating and then having that respect for the other competitors and not having anxiety about winning is also extremely important. Although a typical Western person will say that you have to win at any cost, but I think that is where actually the balance comes in our own mind.
That balance is very important.
Yes.
You know, there is a balance between the two factors. As you say, there must be the fire for the ideal.
Yeah.
At the same time, the mind must be calm. So what is fired by the ideal?
Fire for the
Usually,
idea.
so usually there is a conflict between the Western school of thought and the Eastern school of thought.
Yeah.
There seems to be, as you rightly said, you know, Westerners will want to go to succeed. They are go-getters. They are the successful people. Their accent is on all the time action. And when we say you do your karma, don't worry of the anxiety, they almost as if we are blowing hot and cold.
But our
But in
Andhra
fact,
fellows are also no less, sir. Our Andhra fellows are also no less in terms of being competitive and trying to come first. They are also trained from the 10th class itself in that. So if you see our fellows going and working, they are very poor in teamwork actually. They are all individually brilliant people. The same anxiety about if they are not the best, what will happen to them? That anxiety is very high. So I think it's a lot to do with how the system actually brings up people. But yes, sir. Yes, sorry, you were saying something.
No, I agree. But seems to be two opposing standpoints. There seems to be a hot and cold. One they go ahead, we try to sort of calm down, do your part, you know, surrender to the fruit and things. But Vedanta, as it were, brings these two together. What is it that is fired of the ideal? The fire should never die. What is fired of the ideal is the intellect.
Yeah.
So the intellect is fired of the ideal, but the anxiety of the fruit is not there in the mind. So the mind is kept calm all the time in the present, but the intellect is all the time thinking of the goal. This is the ideal balance that we are talking about. But if the mind also becomes anxious and becomes result oriented and wanting the fruit and getting feverish excitement for the fruit, then it spoils it. But the intellect is fired, so the goal is very clear. There is that burning desire to get to the goal. So the actions always get to the goal, but your mind is always living in the present. This balance is what perhaps brings the Western school of thought and so-called misunderstood Eastern school of thought. It reconciles the two.
But that mind kept under control is also an act of intellect, sir, right?
Indeed, it is an act of intellect.
So eventually it is intellect which is firing your ambition, and also it is keeping your mind under control. Both have to be done by the intellect only.
It has to be. And that is again reflective of the wisdom that you have. So the maturity and the wisdom you have. You know?
Exactly.
Perfect.
Okay,
Right, sir. Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Amira Garu.
This character is built up when you are a kid. Actually, the first 10-15 years is where you make up your personality. And unfortunately, the Western world has become a model for us. Everybody is behind the goal. They are not bothered about the effort they are putting. In fact, that's the reason why 7,000 students commit suicide every year, because they have been driven to the wall, saying that you must become first rank. So that I think once you have been brought up like that thing, it probably will be very difficult to change once you have become a mature adult.
You're right. I think ideally these thoughts should be instilled young so that you're able to think in a matured manner.
Unfortunately, the parents absolutely do not have any time to spend with the children, and they themselves do not have any time with themselves. So I feel that if you do not have time to spend with children, you should not produce children.
Slightly going on a different topic, sir. Thank you.
Okay, sorry.
Not at all. Not at all. I appreciate it. Thank you. Right. We will move on to verse 33, please. Tasmat tvamuttishta yasho labhasva jitva shatrun bhungshva rajyam samriddham mayaivaite nihita purvameva nimitta matram bhava savyasachin tasmat tvamuttishta yasho labhasva jitva shatrun bhungshva rajyam samriddham mayaivaite nihata purvameva nimitta matram bhava savyasachin. Rajima tasmat. Tasmat. Gayatrima tasmat. These two people are one person against me using tasmat is Rajima. When we're writing the book, the wisdom conversations, I was so used to using the word tasmat. And every time tasmat used to come, Rajima used to say, is it necessary to put tasmat, Guruji? Now here you see, tasmat, therefore, means it's only a conclusion of a logical thought process. You arise and acquire fame. Uttishta. Uttishta, very favorite word of Lord Krishna. Arjuna is all the time being told because he had fallen. So the message is to rise, yasha, labhasva, acquire, arise and acquire fame, having conquered the foes, bhungshva rajyam samriddham, enjoy the prosperous kingdom. Bhungshva means enjoy, samriddham, the prosperous rajyam. Verily, they have been slain by me. Nimitta matram is a very, very famous oft-quoted verse. So Arjuna is being advised, as it were, you are a mere instrument. O Savyasachin. Savyasachin, another name for Arjuna. I'll explain what that means. So, the third consecutive verse, from verses 31, 32, 33, the message is coming very loud and clear. I have already slain them. I mean, they are finished. Their end is inevitable, referring to the Kauravas. You do your dharma, arise and acquire fame by killing, and enjoy the wealthy kingdom. Enjoy the prosperous kingdom. So when we say this, we must understand Vedanta perhaps is a text which has been misunderstood in certain areas. Now, Vedanta has no objection. Vedanta is not against acquisition and enjoyment. Vedanta does not say that you must strip yourself down to barest minimum and that is when you are qualified to practice Vedanta. It does not say so. Vedanta was lived by Grihasthas. The Upanishads were given to Grihasthas. The Kaivalya Upanishad, no? We studied the Kaivalya Upanishad. Shaunaka was a qualified Grihastha. So it's not necessary that you must be a man wearing ochre robes, living with bare minimum, putting yourself through pain and discomfort. Not necessary. So the scriptures have no objection to acquiring things and enjoying things. What they do object, what do they object? See here, the Lord himself is telling to Arjuna that having acquired the kingdom rightfully, enjoy the prosperous kingdom. You enjoy it. Having got the kingdom as a fruit of your war, you don't have to take up sannyasa and say, I will not rule the kingdom, I will not enjoy the comforts. Oh, that is stupidity. It's not being said so. So what is Vedanta objecting? If it has no objection to acquisition enjoyment, what is it objecting? Obviously, you're right. So Shivaji and Rajima, you're right. What it's objecting is that you should not become victimized by acquisition. You must not be victims of enjoyment. So what is it to become a victim of acquisition? You can become a victim of either or both. Now you got to find out self-introspection. All of us have to put on a hat of introversion and start looking within. Am I a master, or have I fallen a prey to this quality of acquisition enjoyment? There is no taboo to acquisition. There is no taboo to enjoyment. You can enjoy as long as you feel it is legitimate, as long as you feel it doesn't become an impediment in your journey, please. Oh, I've gone to eat food. We are not supposed to enjoy our food. So tell that chef to put 2 more spoons of chili in that, because I should not enjoy that taste, but I should burn it. I should punish it. That doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean that you punish your senses. We should not fall a prey to either acquisition or enjoyment. So what does it mean, falling a prey to acquisition? Falling a prey to acquisition only means you don't end up developing a mania for acquisition. Don't develop a craving for acquisition. There shouldn't be that trishna. That trishna is the thirst for acquisition. Coveting. Yes, you can say, Upanishad say, Raviji, you're right, that you should not covet another person's wealth. That's perhaps the most sinful act. Magridha kasya svidhanam. The Ishavasya Upanishad says, why are you coveting? So the wealth in terms of acquisition can happen in either through sattvic means, rajasic means, tamasic means. So having trishna, the thirst for acquisition, that's what the famous words of Adi Shankaracharya, no? Mudha jahihidha nagama trishnam kuru sadbuddhim manasi vitrishnam yallabhase nija karmopatam vittam tena vinodaya chetam. Mudha jahihi dhanagama trishna kuru sadbuddhim manasi vitrishna. Do not fall a prey for the thirst for aggrandizing wealth. Means don't fall a prey to that obsession for wanting wealth in your life. Instead, Kuru Sadbuddhim Manasi Vitrishna. Renounce the Trishna, Kuru Sadbuddhim, Sadbuddhi. Entertain the thought of the higher instead of the thirst. So is your mind consumed by the thirst for acquisition? It could be wealth or anything that wealth can buy. It could be property, it could be power, it could be name, it could be fame, it could be anything that you, wealth is something that you're acquiring, doesn't have to be in kind, but something that you are running behind, running for, something which you don't have in your life, that trishna for it. So find out, is there that trishna which you're running behind, anything that you don't have? Or instead of that, you're using that space, that mental space to entertain Kuru Sadbuddhim. So one who falls a prey to that feverish excitement of wanting it in his life, such a person is acquiring wealth through which means? There is sattvic, there is rajasic and tamasic. Which means does he fall into? Shivaji, which means does a person fall into? One who is into trishna, as you said, feverish excitement.
Rajasic.
Rajasic, na? Why? How do you say rajasic, sir?
That is the only thing I want to acquire or whatever may be the means I adopt, I need to get it. That thing. Tamasic will not have even that kind of a drive. Tamasic is overdrive. Rajasic is overdrive.
Tamasic?
Tamasic is no drive at all.
ஐயோ, no drive na எப்படி sir?
There's no drive to acquire also. You just, if it comes, let it come. If it is destroyed,
இல்ல. No, you may say so, but in fact, tamasic people, how do they acquire money? There's a typical flavor of a tamasic fellow. Rajasic fellow is slogging, running, hurrying, worrying, excited, sleepless, feverish excitement, and the sleep the restlessness, and the mindset is all the time never calm.
easy
Tamasic fellow,
interest. Tamasic easy returns.
easy return. எப்படி gambling
Interest
பண்ணலாமா?
அரே.
நீங்க எப்ப போறீங்க gambling பண்ணலாமே? So what is it? Without putting in effort, I want to gain something. So that attitude where you want to gain something without working for it is tamas. What have I paid the price to get it? Have I done anything to deserve it? That lack of thought and wanting to enjoy something without striving for it is tamas. And sattva is, Rajima, what is sattva? என்ன உஷாமா enjoys others' money. Enjoys others' money எப்படி?
Like just like you said, Guruji, he will not work for it, but if he gets it from somewhere, he will be using the money and he will be enjoying it.
They don't
Maybe
strive
it
to
is.
it.
Maybe the properties acquired from the parents or that kind of a thing. One example.
Anything one takes it for granted.
Granted.
Anything one doesn't work towards it.
Exactly.
So that attitude is RIL lenge.
Yeah.
That kind of, it coming, let me take it for
Correct.
granted. That kind of attitude. Now, what is the sattvic, ma?
Sattvic,
Rajima
he
is
will.
very quiet.
Sattvic, he'll work for it in a balanced manner, Guruji, and he will try to not for selfish this thing, but more for the help people or to give it to the society back, like that. So in a very ethical way, without any, in a very ethical way and with values, he will learn what.
So the work is driven towards a greater good, a larger good. And a sattvic, the flavor of a sattvic man is they eat I'm quoting the words in the 3rd chapter. He says, they eat the remnants of sacrifice.
Yeah.
Whatever comes out of a sacrificial life, whatever they are rewarded, whatever remnants means whatever is left over, whatever comes to them. In the traditional words, we say as dakshina.
Yeah.
So they don't work for the wealth. They are not running for the wealth. They are not running for it. They are not seeking behind it. But whatever comes out of a cause that they work for,
they will
a life of sacrifice that provides them the remnants of sacrifice. They lead a sattvic life.
Yes.
So as long as, thanks, Ma. So as long as you don't fall a prey to the uncontrollable craving for acquisition, the mania or the thirst for acquisition. One is with reference to acquisition. What is falling a prey to enjoyment? Be very Be very mindful when we say that. How do we say not falling a prey to enjoyment? Any idea, Raviji? I take a point with reference to acquisition. What you give back is far greater than what you take. True. Very right attitude.
So,
Yes, sir.
may I have the question again?
The question is, how do we practice not falling a prey to acquisition, to enjoyment? We already spoke of acquisition. What do you mean being a master of enjoyment?
Balance. Well, I would say enjoyment and balance, which does not upset your life's equilibrium. There cannot be any life without any enjoyment. Hence, it has to be, to put it differently, I have read somewhere, Artha and Kama have to be balanced by Dharma. Only then you're going to attain moksha.
That's what we said, no? Kuru sadbuddhim manase vitrishna. Don't fall a prey to the karma or the desire or artha. You know, how you don't develop an attachment to it or obsession to it. You're right. The dharma element makes it that you're a master, right? Right, sir. Thank you. Rajima says, don't linger. What is the lingering? Is usually after the enjoyment. You're right. But even before, not something after, but even before, what is the tendency people have when they lose control? It is a okay. Let Harish wants something. Yes, Harish.
Guruji, I just want to say that we shouldn't dwell on it. We should just experience it and move on. Don't dwell on the enjoyment and stay there. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah,
And
but
don't,
dwelling is after. But how do you approach the experience of enjoyment? How do you approach the object of enjoyment? Linger or dwelling is perhaps after the experience, but
have a moderation and don't indulge in it. Just
what
live it
is
in an,
what is moderation?
I mean, don't be obsessed with it and prolong it. Is that fair to say? Don't prolong it to a point where you don't want to let it go. When it finishes, it just finishes. So there's no obsession towards it.
I know you're very much there. I know you've answered it. In fact, Gayatima, don't we say that 3 stages before, while, after the experience? How do we approach it? We say that, don't we? We have analyzed that way some time ago, isn't it? When we talk of enjoyment, how do we approach the experience before? Before the experience, there is
a craving.
What is a craving?
All the time thinking about that, how to get it.
There is a
longing.
Longing, craving, a mental worship of the object of enjoyment. You're all the time perhaps rehearsing the actual enjoyment before it happens. It's a soliloquy going on. Your mind is all the time chanting. First is craving. Second is, so before the experience, there is craving. While you are experiencing, there is an indiscriminate indulgence. A reckless contact means it's indiscriminate. So the term I was actually using for looking for Harish is indiscriminate. So when you contact, invariably it's an indiscriminate, reckless contact. So while people are contacting, it's an indiscriminate contact, and after the experience, there is lingering, as Harish and Rajima did mention. So that capacity where you're able to practice that contact with the object with all these 3 in mind. You don't crave, you don't indulge, you don't linger. So if you're able to maintain a contact with the sense object with these three in mind, you are a master of sense object. Not necessarily a person who's abstaining from sense object. This is the beauty of it. The problem is, if I may be practicing all the three with reference sense object, you will still call me a sensualistic person. But a person may be away from the sense object, abstaining. You call him a spiritualist. This is the wrong perception of people out there. But I may be mentally indulging. I may be mentally lingering, but that is no concern to you. Am I physically keeping away? That's all matters to you. But if a person is amidst sense objects, in fact, that's how he describes in the second chapter, he says, like a kurmaha, like a tortoise, he is very much in the marketplace. But the moment it suspects danger, it quickly withdraws under the hard shell, under the intellect. So he portrays a man of perfection as one who is among sense objects, he is moving around. Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehiraha rasavarjam rasopyasya param drushtva nivartate. In the second chapter, he portrays of a man of perfection there. So the Shastras are not against it, but yet you need to ensure that we don't. What is the quality we have to be careful when we talk of it, that the Shastras have no objection, not against acquisition and enjoyment. What is it that you should be careful when the Shastras say this? We have to be careful and mindful that you don't justify it and continue to acquire for yourself. The Shastras are saying no objection to acquisition. Oh, thank you, sir. I will continue to acquire for myself. No. Any acquisition, if it is subjected for your own well-being, it is not, as I said, acquisition in the forms, if you're working for a larger good, if you're trying to work for the sake of your company or sake of your country, and in return you are rewarded and you're provided for, you be content with that, not trying to multiply your assets by running for it. That is not guaranteed. So don't ever justify this statement to your convenience, because Shastras say no end to acquisition. Verily they have been slain by me. I have already slain them. Who the Lord is saying. And Krishna was the only man without weapon in the whole warfare. Interesting, huh? He says, verily they have been slain by me. And Krishna agreed to them that he will not hold a weapon. Therefore, he became a charioteer. And he says they have already been slain. Look at the authority. Means they are met their own ends because they have their own actions. You be a mere instrument. Nimitta matram. A beautiful word, isn't it? Pushpama, is there any better way of understanding this nimitta matram in Telugu? Or is it the same in Telugu also? We can't hear you, Pushpama.
Telugu also
Yeah.
we call like that only, Guruji. Like I'm only nimitta matram. Everything is done by God. I am only doing like that. Usually we call it.
No, if you say I am a nimitta matram, everything is done by God, means what?
When we are doing good things, we call like we say like, Guruji, I'm only the instrument. Like God is guiding me like that.
Mhm. So what is the role of you and what is the role of God?
He's guiding me to do the good things. Like I'm only working for that. Like only.
So there is a very thin line between where I do my karma and where I surrender to the totality, or what you said as God's providence, or the Lord's hands. But it's important where we draw the line. Where should we draw the line? One set of people think God does everything. Ramji. One set of people think God is doing everything. Correct?
But we say Buddhi Karman Sarini also. No?
I knew something is waiting. Chapandiya. That's what I wanted to know. What is that?
Buddhi Karman Sarini.
Please. We are illiterate people. Can you please explain to us what does it mean? Buddhi, Karman.
Karman Sarini. According to your karma, your Buddhi will go like.
Can you pronounce it clearly? Buddhi Karman?
Karman Sarini.
Buddhi Karmanu Sarini. Ante enti?
In one sense, we will do whatever is written in karma, your intellect will go like that. In one meaning, I think so. Another is as determined by the karma, you will do, your intellect will work like.
I believe that statement means you please use your intellect and act. That's all. Correct, Gayatri Ma? Buddhi Karman. Let your action be driven by the Buddhi, the intellect. Right. Ramji, thanks, Ma. Well, there's a thin line. One set of people swing to one extreme, other set of people swing to other extreme. So one set of people, what is that extreme? Can you tell me in the context?
One set thinks that God is doing everything.
Correct.
And the other set thinks that God is helping them to do things.
Then why is extreme then? That's the middle path.
Okay,
other extreme is?
Other extreme is that I am doing everything.
God I am doing everything.
God
Nanda Pandra. Nanda. I am the architect. I am the doer. I am everything. Where is God? Please give me the address. The question, the challenge.
Correct.
Now, what is the flaw in both the things?
I mean, God, as we all know that God will not do anything. God is only a sakshi to whatever you are doing, and you are doing everything according to your vasanas or your nature and your own buddhi, how it is influenced by your background. So so God actually will not do anything. So that is the way that is the way we have to look at it. But the first one thinks that God is actually helping them to do everything, and then the last one thinks that I am doing everything myself. God has no role. I think both are wrong, because actually we are doing things, as we have discussed many times, that our actions are based on our own intellect and our own vasanas and our own swadharma, right? So we keep doing these things. Well, God is only a sakshi, right?
Right. So one extremity is when people claim God does everything, as Raji and Ma and Gayatri said, that it is tamas. When people surrender everything in the hands of God and say God does everything, I am not doing anything. So it is extreme tamas in action.
Tamas. Okay.
Other extremities, when people are possessed of their doership attitude and they claim responsibility to themselves and reject every other higher factor, it's extreme arrogance and rajas, you can say.
Rajasic, yeah.
Sattva is where you play your part, where you have that self-effort, you do your karma, and then you surrender to the totality. You surrender to providence, you surrender to God, you surrender to the higher. Then why do you surrender? If you say it is my self-effort that has produced the karma, my karma or self-effort has produced the results, Why should you surrender to the higher?
Because if we go by the principle that everything is the whole world, so whatever we are doing in the world. If we believe that the world is existing because of our ignorance of Brahman, as we said, that so everything actually is a part of Brahman only. So there is nothing that we own. There is nothing that we actually are getting into the credit of our bank account. It is the bank account itself belongs to the Brahman, right? So there is nothing that is owned by us. In that sense, you are only in a temporary phase of this life, and then you are doing whatever is your. You may be earning money. You may be acquiring properties. You may be doing good things, but everything is a part of the overall overall structure.
Now, we say, as you were saying earlier, that God is Sakshi, neutral. But yet we keep seeking divine blessings.
Yeah.
We keep seeking God's grace or blessings. What is the object? In fact, somebody asked me one day, so Guruji, you keep harping so much of karma and that swadharma and doing your karma part without renouncing the fruit. But still, why do we seek blessings? Why is there? Even I've seen in your message, you say divine blessings and so on and so forth. So it was very, very particular. He pinned me down and said, where is this, where do they both merge, as it were? Why is it? I seems to have a dichotomy. Then to which I clarified, I think rightly commented there in the chat also, that the reason you entertain a divine thought or seek a divine intervention, the only objective is to arrest the possible ahankar or ego. So to make you humble, that no doubt you do your part, but you play that part in a humble way. So you do it with humility. So to inject that spirit of humility and non-arrogance, to arrest that arrogance, that we say God, we seek God's blessings. But God has got nothing to do with what we are doing, isn't it? If you take the strict definition, he is just a mere witness. Now I'm taking this class right under the light of this room. Now, has light got anything to do with what I'm doing, what I'm speaking, what I'm saying? No. But yet the activity is happening in the presence of the light. That's what in the Panchadashi there is mention of Nataka Deepa Prakarana. Light on stage. That's what they say. Self is like a light on stage. Though we may intellectually say that God is a witness, but still we sort of say we seek the blessings only to be humble. We bow down, isn't it? When you bow down, you are humble. Just to instill that spirit that you never hold your head high and say, oh, it is my doing. Just to make you humble. Adhikaga, for that reason, Mano, we say. So that is Sattva. There's a merger of one extremity people go is saying that God does everything. Other extremity is I am doing everything. So it's to bring both those elements. You do your part and then surrender to the Lord, just to give you the right balance between the both. That is Sattva. That's the middle path.
Okay.
That's perhaps the rationale, sir.
But then we should not take any egoistic pride in constructing temples and saying that I have built this temple. So then that itself is we see many such people, right? Where in villages and all that somebody has built a temple and he remains the Dharmakarta, as they call it. And then they become the owners of the temple. So we see that everywhere, basically. But I'm saying that it is just without understanding the purpose of this, people take credit for building temples.
Very unholy thought.
Like I mentioned, my tendency to go to temples has come down now in the last 3 years.
Welcome to the club, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing wrong. I think right or wrong with it, and I don't endorse it. But you are able to relate to it in a much grander way, in a much broader way, I would say.
Yeah. Anyway, sir, that is.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ji. Thank you. Yes, Sudhakar Garu.
Hari Om Guruji.
Yes, sir.
One small question is still lingering in my mind pertaining to the previous discussion. We have mentioned three aspects of attachment, that is craving, indulgence, and lingering. The first thing is craving, the second one is indulgence, and the third one is lingering. The first two are okay, Guruji, but when the question of indulgence comes, people will get enjoyment. Okay. Only after the enjoyment, lingering will be there. But most of the people, they try to get more, indulge more and more, and get addicted to it and try to destroy. There is no question of lingering at all. The lingering doesn't arise at that time. Only when we put an end to the enjoyment, then the question of lingering comes.
No, but the past enjoyment has happened, no? You enjoyed many things in the past, hasn't one? Haven't you?
Yeah.
When I consciously go and recollect those memories of past experiences, that is lingering. You may continuously indulge. You may be an indulgent person, but when you consciously live the dead past, means something which has already happened, but you go and live it, you go and remind yourself of it and celebrate those moments of joy, that is lingering.
But
there is
most
no
of the
need to celebrate.
No, what I mean to say, Guruji, but most of the people, have seen, when they get indulged, they try to get indulged more and more and destroy themselves. That's the question. That's the kind of addiction. And after destroying themselves, there is no question of lingering. That's what I'm telling about the past and not
Good for them.
At the time of
They are
indulgence.
not,
At the time
no,
of indulgence.
what good for them is they don't have to pay the price of lingering. They have, the samapti is happening in indulgence only. Good. But some people are doing the third also.
They are better.
I don't know which is better or not. I have no comments on that. But third, all three are evil qualities. All three are non-acceptable.
Yeah.
Right, sir. Right. Okay. Now, Maniji is completely disturbing me. Suddenly he is floating in New York. Suddenly he'll be amongst the gardens of, I don't know, Mathura garden. He will be there with the roses behind, and suddenly he will be in the seafront. Enna Maniji, what is going on? And I keep seeing two logins of you. Enna nadakkuradhu? Can you not be this mischievous, Maniji? Please respect your age. What's going on? What is CG money? Another? Ninga vera? AK money order pair. Ninga CG money. Already complicated. Ninga adu mele complicate pandringa Shivaji ninga.
Computer graphics money.
Abba. That's correct. Computer graphics are something all is up to. Maybe we should, Gayatri Ma should help Maniji with getting a standard screensaver. He will not touch. Or a standard screensaver kodungo class kaga. And he will not play with that screensaver. Yes, M.V. Rao Garu. Sir, you wanted to say something, sir? Sir, can you please unmute yourself?
Yeah. In the first case, where you feel that God is doing everything, there is a tendency to escape doing what is to be done because you believe that God is doing everything. So it can lead to a lot of problems. By relinquishing, by not doing anything, everything is being done by God. I am nimitta matra. The other case where you think that you are doing, you'll become arrogant. You will not listen to the advice of anybody. You think that you know everything. A lot
Correct,
of
sir.
politicians do it. So the middle path is where you do everything, but you submit it to God so that there is a humility and not arrogance in you. So that is the middle path.
Sir, I like the beautiful tone with which you summed up, sir. Lovely. Appreciate that. Thanks for your summarization. Aptly done. Aptly done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Raviji, you had something?
I wanted to say earlier, sir, because I can only talk from my own personal experience. You see sometimes in your own life and of lives of people you know and around you, people work very hard for something, they don't get it. Sometimes they barely put an effort for something, or it seems so, and they acquire or achieve what they want. That's why, while human effort is very important, there is the grace of God. You can also call it the play of karma. Maybe past karmas are fructifying in a negative or a positive way. So, in other words, there seem to be forces beyond us which have an effect on our life, whether we like it or not.
No, what are the forces? No, you can't, sir, you can't make an open statement, leave it like that. You have to please clear that statement.
I don't know. Maybe certainly one is your karmas, but maybe there's something called divine grace or conversely divine retribution. I don't know. So, in other words, God may or may not be as neutral as we are saying.
Who's God, sir? One of the personal God Irkara? Other may be likely.
On the point, I would like to clarify, sir. I understand. I mean, if I go by how the philosophers describe it, Godhead and God. Godhead may be neutral, but his immediate manifestations, maybe they do confer grace. Like Ravana Maharshi said, there is no karma for the inward turned mind. Maybe when the mind turns inwards, karma slowly evaporates and grace flows. Grace can flow for various reasons, whether it's flowing from the Godhead, which is the Parabrahman or Brahman, or from the manifestations like Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. I don't know. But in other words, there seem to be forces which not only you don't control, but which act as they choose to act, not by your volition.
I surrender to M.V. Rao Garu. Chappan, sir.
The problem occurs because we try to compare ourselves with the others. So when you see that somebody is stinkingly rich without doing any effort, whereas I am putting hell of a lot of effort, I am not getting the results. Why so? Or it is the other way around. You are doing everything, but you do everything like proper life, proper meditation, still nothing happens. Again, you might think that, okay, I do not have God's grace. Or in the first case, you can say God is partial to them. My feeling is, should not compare, do whatever you think is the best, and then don't bother about the result at all. The problems come when you start comparing with the others.
Right, sir. Sir, I'm reminded, thanks, sir. I'm reminded of my dentist. I remember going with someone went to the dentist. I had taken someone to the dentist. I don't want to mention who, because again, I complain, I'll get, you're taking my reference in the class. So I'll not tell. I took someone to the dentist. And then that person said, I am getting so many, what is this? What do you call that? Cavities. And the doctor asked immediately, are you eating too many chocolates? Are you brushing normally? Everything I'm doing, but still I'm getting cavity. To which he said, a fellow who doesn't smoke, who doesn't drink, who doesn't eat non-veg, that fellow is getting cancer and dying. Why? His karma. Everything discussion ended. We said namaskaram to him, and the person went out quietly, didn't utter a word. So you can do your part. So many things may happen what you want. So many things may happen without you accepting it. You have to accept as your karma and move on. Thereafter, that person again never spoke of cavity in her life. You see, we may know, we may not understand, sir, but it's important. Jokes apart, as we said, from a highest Vedantic perspective, the Vedanta says that God has to be understood as a life-giving force, is that which energizes matter. That's all. The job of Brahman is it gives life. It is a life-giving force, and having lent its life, it remains a mere witness to its expressions or manifestations. Having given life, it's a witness. Perfect example is electricity gives life to the bulb. The bulb glows because of electricity. Now, electricity is a mere witness to the light the bulb emanates. Electricity lends refrigeration to the refrigerator. Having given life to that equipment refrigerator, electricity remains a witness to the process which the refrigerator does, which is to refrigerate. You go to the electricity and say, would you prefer refrigerator or would you prefer a bulb? It has nothing to do with it. It just expresses, it gives life. So the Atman in me, the Atman in you, the Atman in all living beings, the Atman lends life to it. Atman remains a Sakshi or a witness to the manifestations that you produce, the manifestations of varied actions I produce, we all produce. But what is the reason why we are producing different manifestations? Our own vasanas and our own karmas, which the Atman has nothing to do with it. It's a Sakshi. Just like electricity is a Sakshi to the manifestations, which is the characteristic of the bulb, which is the characteristic of the refrigerator. It doesn't get involved with matter. It says, I have no interest. I have nothing to do with matter, because spirit and matter are two opposite things. But it just lends its life. So even if we were to try and take this concept into account and surrender to it, it may justify that we are all helplessly bound by our own karmas, and it functions in mysterious ways. We have to gracefully accept it. God is neutral. It has got nothing to do. He's not favoring you or being unkind to me or vice versa. We can't attribute any motives to God because God is motiveless. So if we take this concept to the highest Vedantic description, how they portray it, I think it becomes very easy. Otherwise, then we will try to plant motives into God, and then it perhaps confuses us. If we go by that line of thought, I think it brings in little clarity. Okay, Ji. Yes, sir.
No, I go along with that. I agree. All I was trying to say was there is something which we don't know. We at some point we go along. Yes.
But the way the knowledge gives us convincing answers logically, it puts its arguments in place. The question is whether I completely wholeheartedly surrender to the wisdom. Then it puts things to rest. But if there is that ambiguity or that suspicion or doubt, then knowledge can't do much. But the stance of Vedanta is very, very clear. Its profound stance is Brahman is mere Sakshi. It enlivens it, it's a Sakshi. Thank you, Ji. So the term Nimitta Matram has to be understood rightly. So how do I continue to be a mere instrument in the roles and responsibilities? SR Garu, correct kada? So when you are to be an instrument, so how would you be a Nimitta Matram you are a CEO of your company, but yet you are a Nimitta Matram. So every employee in your organization must work with this attitude that you are an instrument. Do your part. What has to happen will happen, but you continue to do your part. You don't get into factors which is beyond your control, but do your part with this attitude of that sattvic attitude. You do your karma and renounce the fruits and surrender to check your ego. You're a mere instrument. As I said, it's a very, very oft-quoted, very famous verse, but it's important that we interpret correctly. And lastly, he says, you are a Savya Sachin. Savya Sachin means one who could shoot the arrows with both his hands. Means if he is right-hander, he could shoot with the left hand also. Means he could conquer the enemy very effortlessly, quite easily. That's what he means. So you're a great warrior. So do your dharma. You could easily win the battle. Arjuna had won many such battles. He was a great warrior. So he's just saying, do your part, arise, enjoy the prosperous kingdom. They've already been slain by me. Very powerful. If it's understood rightly, it can give a lot of a positive vibe. Right? We'll continue. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.